global population is rapidly increasing, and so is the need to enhance food production. Further, climate change is threatening agricultural growth. Frequent dry spells, heat waves, and irregular rainfall. Earth observation is emerging as a powerful tool for assessing the status of agricultural production. EO data clubbed with emerging technologies like artificial intelligence and machine learning can help in addressing challenges facing agriculture. Join us for an insightful webinar on Farming from Space, Digital Innovation for Agriculture, which will have companies, technicians, and decision makers share expert knowledge and opinions about present and future scenarios, promising technologies, and the importance of geo-information in agriculture.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Farming from Space, Digital Innovation for Agriculture webinar. I would like to extend my greetings to all our distinguished guests and speakers, and also to the stakeholders on our roundtable, whom I want to thank for their participation and precious contribution. Seems that you are targeting over 1,000 connected participants from 4 different continents, and I welcome everyone. e-GEOS has invited to participate in this forum institutions, companies, decision makers to share expert knowledge and opinion about the value of geo-information data and services for the diffusion of a sustainable agriculture, considering present and future scenarios, promising technologies and methodologies. Indeed, the scope of this event is not only to share the state of art of technologies for agriculture management, but also to evaluate the challenges of scaling up innovative digital solutions and approaches that could support institutions and other involved stakeholders up to smallholder farmers in the complex agri-food supply chain. Telespazio Group, e-GEOS, Bonifiche Ferraresi, and other partners will share their portfolio of services for precision sustainable agriculture based on geo-information contribute to application from data access to the information delivery, also introducing several operational and research and development experiences. We will display how the use of satellite and drones technology linked to innovative platforms like Agri-Geo and GeoAdvantis based on artificial intelligence is becoming increasingly important for enabling more sustainable farming practices and reducing environmental impact. We feel, as Telespazio Group, the responsibility to aim to a sustainable agriculture that has to provide a potential solution to feed the growing population within the changing environmental conditions. When developing agriculture within sustainable food system, it is important to develop flexible business processes and farming practice. Let's think about how important it is, for example, to reduce pollution thanks to a rational and targeted use of fertilizer, to optimize the use of resources that are fundamental for life and economy, like water, such as, let's say, what we want to do to help the countries that are under development, like Africa, in this way. Don't forget that a better agriculture can bring to us a better food. The efficiency of agriculture system that foster economic, environmental, and social sustainability has been demonstrated. It is a fact. But the adoption of sustainable agriculture practice, such as precision farming, needs a push. Strategies such as improved management of the existing information, data, and downstream services, careful design of institutional economic support programs for downstream industries and for farmers, global effort to change, could help overcome some of the current barriers encouraging precision farming adoption on a large scale. I do not dwell further. Now I leave the floor to our moderator, Mrs. Deborah Piovan, farmer, spokesperson of Food for Thoughts, president of the National Protein Oil Federation Confagricoltura. Please stay with us until the end and enjoy the webinar.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mincacci, and good afternoon to all in our audience, and welcome to the first roundtable of Farming from Space, Digital Innovation for Agriculture, webinar by e-GEOS, Italian Space Agency and Telespazio company. As Mr. Mincacci said, I am a farmer, and my name is Deborah Piovan. And before introducing our panelists, whom I thank for their, albeit virtual, presence today, let's have a quick overview of our stakeholders roundtable. We will be listening to experts from various origins sharing their views on the use of geoinformation data and services, showing us how satellite technologies can contribute to make agriculture and our food production more sustainable, both for the environment and for the economy. There are several challenges in front of us, and I'll name a few which we heard in the introducing video. Climate change, for example, the effects of which, believe me, are already very clear in our farms. We have a request from society to account for our environmental footprint. We have a need for new provisional models. Digital epidemiology, for example, is a thing, and it's not a case. I mentioned this during a pandemic. Crops have their epidemics too. So how about digital phytopathological provisional models, for example? But also the importance of scaling up digital solutions through innovative approaches, considering whether there is a need to foster inclusive approaches and economically viable solutions. And on top of this, an overwhelming bureaucratic burden, which is a really heavy payload. So without further ado, I'll move to introducing a few video messages to you, which some of our guests sent. The first one is by Mr. Luigi Pasquali. He's CEO of Telespazio and Space Activities Coordinator of Leonardo, and Chairman of the Board of Directors of Thales Alenia Space Italia.
Hi everyone. Welcome to this Farming from Space, Digital Innovation for Agriculture webinar. It is a very important occasion, and then first of all I want to thank all the participants and speakers to be ready to attend this roundtable. And I want first of all to give my contribution to the roundtable by conveying my message referring to the interest and importance that the technological improvements and objectives that we give to agricultural vertical market is for Telespazio Group. Indeed, we will, during these works, we will discuss all together about how to broadening innovative digital solutions and how to approach the effectiveness of the applications based on space images that we can bring to the agricultural field. I said innovative. Indeed, the innovation is the key word. Is the key word for all different sectors, and in particular, I think that is the key word for agriculture. For Telespazio is a key word. You know maybe that Telespazio this year, 2021, celebrates the 60th anniversary. So then we have been founded in 1961, and we had in our mission the need to grant innovation at that time to our country, Italy. And today we still have, 60 years after, this mission to grant innovation for a broader number of international applications. And we have developed these capabilities along the years, sticking to this important control of innovative solutions. So in the geoinformation area, of course, we have focused our interests and capabilities in several vertical markets. And in those vertical markets, we have developed, particularly thanks to the recent, in the last years, digital solutions, a great number of very important and effective solutions and applications. In the agricultural field, for sure, it is one of our priorities because of the importance that we connect to agriculture and agri-food value chain, together with the environment. Don't forget about the importance that we all have to consider for the sustainable goals of the United Nations, as well as the Green Deal of Europe. And then together with these common objectives, of course, agriculture is the place where we need to find innovative solutions. Innovative meaning transforming multi-source data and images into information, and from those information, solutions which may help the system. So this is our commitment, this is our interest, and I'm pretty sure that from the discussion that we will have during the panel and the workshop of today, we can improve our capability altogether to bring these kind of objectives for agriculture and for all the system around that. Thank you very much for your contribution.
Well, thank you very much to Mr. Pasquali. We now have a second short message by Dr. Federico Vecchioni, CEO of Bonifiche Ferraresi and BF Holding SPA.
Ringrazio l'amministratore delegato Paolo Minciacchi e l'ingegner Luigi Pasquali. Oggi è un importante appuntamento che Bonifiche Ferraresi e il gruppo BF SPA nella sua interezza ha apprezzato fin dalla collaborazione che abbiamo realizzato con e-GEOS in questi anni. La realizzazione di una grande piattaforma tecnologica al servizio dell'agricoltura italiana e delle agricolture a livello internazionale ha visto da alcuni anni una collaborazione importante tra il nostro gruppo e l'intera realtà di Leonardo ed e-GEOS. Riteniamo assolutamente strategico poter contribuire allo sviluppo del tessuto agricolo italiano ed internazionale attraverso la fornitura di servizi avanzati ad alto valore tecnologico. Non si parla soltanto di digitalizzazione, ma di tutti i servizi che possono contribuire allo sviluppo di un'agricoltura sostenibile e rispettosa dell'ambiente. L'approccio dell'agricoltore deve essere dunque affiancato da delle realtà efficienti, capaci di trasferire il know-how avanzato e tecnologico anche a realtà agricole di piccole dimensioni. Rendere scalabile, rendere modulabile la fornitura di servizi tecnologici e digitali consente alle grandi realtà come Bonifiche e alle realtà di minor dimensione che sono presenti nelle diverse agricolture del pianeta di poter così contribuire ad una filiera agroindustriale ed alimentare di alto valore aggiunto e rispettoso della qualità degli alimenti. Il percorso che è stato fatto tra Bonifiche Ferraresi, di Bonifiche Ferraresi con e-GEOS e con A2A va in questa direzione. Credo che sia assolutamente strategico poter individuare partner finanziari capaci di sostenere questo processo di modernizzazione dell'agricoltura nell'intera realtà italiana e straniera. Il trasferimento tecnologico contribuirà dunque al rafforzamento della capacità competitiva nelle aree più sviluppate del pianeta, accompagnando anche le aree depresse e meno sviluppate. È da questa alleanza, da queste partnership che possono derivare i migliori risultati per la conservazione del suolo, la fertilità dei terreni e la capacità di rispondere a quei cambiamenti climatici che hanno fortemente interessato l'agricoltura in questi ultimi anni. È dunque da una integrazione solida tra innovazione e tradizione agricola che si potranno ottenere i migliori risultati. L'alleanza di e-GEOS con Bonifiche Ferraresi rappresenta una risposta imprenditoriale, tecnologica, finanziaria avanzata per l'intero tessuto produttivo italiano e straniero.
Very well, thank you. There's a last quick video message by Mr. Francesco Sofia from AGEA. He's head of the CN division that runs and coordinates the Italian National Agriculture Information System.
Good afternoon, and thanks for inviting AGEA to this webinar. My name is Francesco Sofia, AGEA ICT Manager, and I bring you the greetings of the Director, Mr. Gabriele Papa Pagliardini. We believe that Copernicus system is giving us the opportunity to provide new services and informations of public utility that were unthinkable until now. And this is possible also thanks to the use of dedicated digital platforms that allow us to manage spatial data together with all the other informations available within the public administrations. AGEA also, thanks to its contractual partnerships with the Italian industry, is increasingly using satellite data both from Earth observation and GNSS. And I'd like to give you 3 examples of actual use of spatial data in the framework of the EU Common Agricultural Policy. First, Italy, through AGEA, has first in Europe started the new check by monitoring program in 2018, passing from a sampling control of subsidies claim of 5% to monitoring the entire territory every 5 days and along the agricultural year. We plan to cover this year 34 provinces, which is around a third of Italy. AGEA has also acquired the GeoTag mobile app, which enables the farmer to directly send geo-referenced photos and field data in case of uncertainty after the satellite images processing, so reducing time and travel costs. Second, the updating of the National Land Parcel Identification System, LPIS, through innovative automatic classification techniques applied to the orthophotos at 20 centimeters of pixels in colors at 1 to 5,000 scale. LPIS is countrywide and is used by many state bodies and for many reasons. For example, it is currently used to help fighting the Xylella fastidiosa, which is quite a global threat and one of the most worrisome plant pathogens for olive trees in the region of Puglia. Third, an important acceleration has occurred in recent months due to the COVID-19 emergency. The new EU regulations are giving the member states the option to fully substitute the physical inspections of the field by the use of Copernicus Sentinel satellite images and geo-referenced photos. Member states may also set up the dialogue with farmers through dedicated digital platforms, avoiding meeting them in person. In this innovative context, AGEA intends to take on the role of facilitator of digital transformation of the agricultural system, also through the sharing of data and services with all paying agencies involved, with associations and with all the main stakeholders of the agriculture sector. For the future, we are facing the challenge of the green, that for us means setting up a system for supporting agro-environmental and forestry policies, and for the management guidelines for mitigating the impact of climate change. And one strong requirement for us is to facilitate the access to the information system that must act as a backbone in the development of policies for the soil management, water quality, the reduction of use of fertilizers, pesticides and greenhouse gas emissions, the maintenance of biodiversity, and hence the creation of a healthier environment for farmers and for all citizens. Thank you.
Most interesting. We're getting into solid examples. Well, I think we can open our roundtable now, and I will invite our first panelist, Dr. Alan Bellward. He's Deputy Director and Head of Unit of Food Security Unit in the Directorate for Sustainable Resources at the Joint Research Center of the European Union. Dr. Bellward, welcome to the Stakeholders Roundtable.
Good afternoon. Very happy to be here.
Now, the JRC provides scientific evidence to support EU policies, in particular in the areas of agriculture, bioeconomy, environment, and climate change. And it is a role that helps us to open today's topics, underline the importance of a multidisciplinary approach to the challenges that food production and environment protection are facing. Your role is to provide decision makers with science and evidence-based information and support the European member states in also in sharing their technologies. So what is the importance of data in this task, and how do you think could the JRC help in the dissemination of smart technologies?
Oh, yeah. Data are our lifeblood, really. They occupy our every working hour and maybe even our every waking hour. Just to give you some numbers, I mean, Francesco Sofia just mentioned the checks by monitoring, the on-the-spot checks, and the land parcel identification system. Just in terms of data, we have to look after 65.8 million land parcels across almost 34% of the European Union territory. So data are our lifeblood. And then we use the digital observations from the Copernicus platforms that were mentioned, from the constellation of Sentinel satellites that are gathering data every minute of every day, and the contributing missions from the other providers. All of this comes together. Then what we have to do, as you said, is we have to turn this into consistent methods that are applicable right the way across the European Union to provide input to the 6+ million farmers who depend on the CAP subsidies, to make sure that those subsidies are delivered accurately and according to the regulation. So data feed everything. You also asked about the cross dimension, and in a way that was also introduced by Mr. Sofia, who talked about the biodiversity sides. The Common Agricultural Policy now has to deliver on the environment and the climate sides as well. And we're using those observations that we get, the measurements that we get from the digital world, whether it's from a geotagged photograph taken by a farmer in the field or from one of the sentinels. They are providing us with a record of what's happening in every one of those 65.8 million land parcels. So we're building up a picture of how things are changing. And we're able to turn even the geotagged photographs, we're able to turn those into measurements. And those measurements then give our policymakers the evidence that you referred to. A long answer.
No, but very useful. Yes, because to implement policies, you need solid data and you need to build on them, or you get to the wrong end, isn't it?
Yes, solid data and solid measurement protocols and solid science.
Absolutely. And what's your suggestion in helping disseminating these technologies to final users like farmers or institutions? And
we're very much exploring that idea of the two-way communication, the digital dialogue that was mentioned by Mr. Sofia. That's one thing. That's part of the political motivation is simplification, like in the COVID-19 to avoid the on-the-spot checks, but it's also to make the whole thing more simple. So I think that direct contact with the farmer is one thing, but I think it will also be in terms of maintaining the very solid dialogue that we have with the policymakers, so that as the policy evolves, that policy takes notice of what's happening in the technological world. It's been like that for 25 more years, that the research that my colleagues have been doing on turning observations of a land parcel into something meaningful for Brussels has been going on for many years. And the policy has adapted to the new technology, and that's what we see happening now.
Oh, very comforting. I remember when we talked a few days ago, you said we have to see, back to climate change, how it affects agriculture and vice versa, how agriculture affects climate change. What data are you collecting?
Well, this is, well, much the same. Satellite observations play a fundamental part, but so do meteorological observations there. So it's data from other sources and bringing that together as well. And crop production models. So we merge meteorological data, crop production models, and measurements of biophysical properties. How well are the plants growing, which we obtain from the Copernicus satellites. Now here we're not talking 20 centimeter resolution pixels like we mentioned before. We're talking more like 100 meter and even 1 kilometer pixels and 25 kilometer cells for our climate models. But with those, we can build up a pattern of how the crops are doing across the whole of the European Union. And again, for 25 years, we've been producing every month a bulletin, a forecast of agricultural production, of what's going to happen. And then we look back as well, and we're able to look at extreme weather events and look at the impact that that has. You combine those two and you start to get a notion of recovery as well. So you can see where there has been, like in 2018, where we had the extreme droughts, which had a terrible effect on Europe's pasture lands and so on. Because we're doing this all the time, we're able to look at bounce back, at recovery, which areas can recover, which ones can't. And this helps us to build up a picture of impacts and eventually adaptation.
Precious. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Bellward. Stay with us while I move to the next speaker. So I introduce Ms. Fiammetta Diani. She's Head of Market Development Technology Officer at GSA, the European Global Navigation Satellite Systems Agency. Welcome and good afternoon.
Good afternoon from Prague, from our headquarters of the European GNSS Agency. Thanks, Paolo, and thanks, Deborah, for this opportunity.
Now, the GSA has been focusing on agricultural topics and developing new tools for precision farming, but also to satisfy the reporting requirements of European farmers. I'm thinking, for example, of the e-GNSS for CAP application for Android that the GSA developed. How can it help reduce the farmers' bureaucratic burden, improve their performance, and also the reliability of CAP inspections? And in general, how can it help make the whole food system more efficient?
Yes, thanks for this question. Indeed, at the GSA, the European GNSS Agency, we take care of our satellite navigation program in Europe, EGNOS and Galileo. We deliver the services, we ensure the security, but also we work on the application. We want to make it use. So this is our duty today. And we will soon become the EU agency for the space program under the new, what we call the new regulation for space in the EU. And there we will take care also of Copernicus, and we'll have especially this task to bring Copernicus to non-institutional users, so for example also to the farmers, and in doing this we will foster the synergy. So what I'm going to use to answer your question is some example of these synergic use indeed. So I will share my screen because it will make easier to explain what I wanted to share with you. Just 1 second. Okay. So first of all, our satellite navigation system, e-GNSS, and the Copernicus are already used in agriculture extensively. And you see here some examples. So we are in a way already contributing to the Green Deal, to the Farm to Fork, and so on. But do we think it's enough? I would say no, because I think there is still room for innovation, integrating these different technologies, but also there is room for democratizing this technology to bring it to all the farmers and not only to the most advanced ones. And to do this, at the GSA, we are working in different market segments, including agriculture, along 3 pillars. So first of all, we believe that to understand the user needs and to understand how the value chain of the specific market, in this case agriculture, work is essential. And in fact, we publish every year either the market report or the GNSS technology report, and we'll extend them also to Copernicus. This permits to the companies that want to do business also to design their business plan, and to the investor to know where are we going. And especially we have this platform for the users where also the agriculture world participate and where they can express the needs, and we shape our services toward the needs. Then we support the demand. So we work, for example, in agriculture to create all the enabler needed to see the real use of our services in agriculture. So wherever it's needed, we do testing campaign, we do cost-benefit analysis, and so on. And then we want to answer to this demand with the Made in Europe product. So we have our pillar offer creation. And we do this via tools that the European Commission gave us, for example, the Horizon 2020 and Horizon Europe in the future, and the fundamental elements. So we do via innovation. So we co-invest with the companies in innovation. And we have also specific price targeting instead more startups, young innovators, called Farming by Satellite. We awarded very recently. The water management was one of our winner, and also we had a special prize for Africa. So this is to stimulate the use of our technology in agriculture and to create new ventures and new businesses. So in the end, what we want to do? We want to decrease something, and this something is the fuel, the water, and the emission. And we want to increase the efficiency, the sustainability, and the production. So the technologies are used and will be effective if we succeed to do this, let's say, inverse work. But let me give some examples. So you see here 4 applications in which the navigation and Earth observation already contribute substantially. For example, in the variable rate technology, where we go to calibrate the spraying of fertilizer, for example, we can arrive to 10 to 15% reducing without impacting the crop yield. In the precision farming, in the precision livestock farming instead, where we use automatic monitoring and virtual fencing, we can make the life of our animals a bit better, first of all, and second, we can also contribute to reduce the agricultural methane emission up to 30%. In the control traffic farming, that is a concept where you try not to destroy or damage the terrain, but to repass on the same path with the wheels. We can arrive up to saving 50% of the fuels per ton of crop. And finally, very important in climate change time, the precision irrigation to save water.
Dr. Gianni, excuse me, could you make it full screen so we can see it?
Okay, it's already full screen. I will do again.
All right.
Can you see it now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So in the precision irrigation, we can create strategies like the deficit irrigation strategy that enable up to 25% water savings. So in all these technologies, the navigation, the precise navigation together with the images and the data from Earth observation contribute to these important benefits. And so this is for optimizing the farming. And as you said, our technology also contributed to, let's say, decrease the burden on the farmers as well as on the people who has to do the controls in the Common Agricultural Policy. And we have developed, for this reason, this application called e-GEOS for CAP that use our satellite navigation signal. And in particular, it's already targeting the new differentiator that Galileo is bringing, that we are experimenting now. So the authentication that give information about the authenticity of the position, and the high accuracy that will bring even more accurate services. And they are already using today the dual frequency. That is a feature of Galileo that make it more precise, especially in the open field for agriculture. So what we do with this application, we geotag the pictures. AGEA is one of the paying agency that indeed is working with us. So the geotag pictures, or we can also delineate the parcels in order to submit, for example, modifications. The application can be used either by the farmer for a sort of, let's say, sending the information to the paying agency, or by the paying agency itself. So it will reduce the time, the travels, and even the risk in this period, complicated, for moving of all the common agricultural policy, let's say, bureaucratic tasks that are today on the farmers. So I think this is what I wanted to share, and
thank you.
I
Thank you very much.
On the screen.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you for sharing. I will move to the following guest. We have Dr. Lorenzo De Simone. He is coordinator of the SDG subprogram of FAO and an expert in remote sensing on food security. Welcome, Dr. De Simone. You're on mute.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Thank you. So let's delve a little deeper into the possibilities of Earth observation and spatial analysis. I know you worked on projects for the implementation of early warning systems for food security, but also for disease information systems. The importance of the information that such platforms like AgriGeo, for example, can gather can make their implementation in farms and even in wide rural districts easier. So how can FAO promote the use of this kind of data, in particular focusing on a broad concept of sustainability? And how's the situation in the world areas where you've been working?
Yeah, thank you very much. So as you know, the FAO focuses on developing countries, and this means that we always talk about smallholder farmers. So the type of agriculture, first of all, is quite different than the extensive agriculture, for example, that we have in the United States, where precision farming is far ahead, or from the European system, where we have a strong data infrastructure that can support the CAP monitoring. So all that I've heard so far about the use of indicators extracted by Copernicus, which then connect to the parcel of the farmer for the controlling of the farmer, but also for the provision of best guidances on the use of water or fertilizer. This is much more difficult to do it in Africa, because the smallholders, let's say, they face a different issue. So whereas here we are more interested, you know, in the monitoring of the policy, the sustainability of environment. In the case of smallholders, actually, we are talking about increasing the productivity. So, for instance, if you think about the United States now, they are far ahead with the carbon credits. So farmers now are at the center of this new market. They understand that precision farming is helping them just to be more sustainable, environmentally speaking. So they created a system to make this profitable, because why should a farmer, you know, decide to pay for geospatial technology if in the end it's not producing more, because it's just, you know, improving the environment. So there are some differences that needs to be taken into account, which have an impact on the implementation and on the type of data also that can be used. Regarding concrete examples, what is FAO doing? So we do have global early warning systems. We have the Precise early warning system for both animal and plant pest and diseases. There is the full armyworm early warning system, which also has an app, which allows at farm level to basically recognize the pest and to trigger for early warning messages. So there are those type of, let's say, global approaches. What we're also trying to do, we're trying to have national focused projects, and particularly we have partnership with the NSOs, with the National Statistics Offices, who are interested in utilizing alternative sources of data, hence Earth observation, to produce timely and accurate crop statistics. Now, we link this to the, let's say, to the food security. So we're trying to establish a capacity using, of course, technology and data coming from European Space Agency and let's say the universities that have worked along in these years, the partners that have worked along these years in developing, for example, on applications based on Sentinel data. So, for instance, the Send to Agri toolbox. So the idea is to build this capacity in a country Now we have few pilots: Senegal, Uganda, Lesotho, and there's also another project now in Afghanistan, although it's a bit different approach. The idea is if we establish their capacity to monitor in a consistent way, in an operational way, crops, so we can create that first base of information that then we can be used to build vertical application, which can be climate smart agriculture, precision farming, and then eventually could evolve also to the monitoring of the farmers. For example, those farmers who obtain subsidy from the government, and of course they need to be monitored for the utilization of water and so on. So I think my conclusive message is that we're still, Earth observation is out there. There's still a lot of data and technology, but the uptake from this at government level, so that it becomes an efficient tool for the farmer, I think that's still, there are still barriers that need to be overcome, and FAO is working hard on, on using low-cost technology, building capacity through training, utilization as much as possible of free and open source data. But we also have to realize that in some cases, freely available data might not be useful when the fragmentation of the parcels is high and the size of the parcel is very small. So in that case, eventually, we still don't have really, freely available products for that.
So there are barriers that we might not think of, but are indeed an issue in other countries.
Afghanistan, at the government level, they have a framework contract with Planet, because they realized since many years, because they've been a lot into land cover mapping and crop type mapping, that basically the solution for them would be to have at least a 3 meters resolution image to work on. So when we want to work with Sentinel there, we basically can create some kind of indicators. Of course, we can analyze time series, change in some specific variables. But if we want to have a specific crop type mapping and to extract accurate statistics from that, so area and yield, then we need to go with the high resolution data.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. De Simone. Stay with us. I'll move to the next guest. I'll invite Dr. Benjamin Kurtz on the virtual floor from ESA. He's application and mission scientist for ESA's Earth observation. Welcome, Dr. Kurtz.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the invitation.
Good afternoon to you. Now, you have a long experience in interfacing with a lot of different kind of users, from industries to governmental agencies. You sure can show to society, to decision makers, I'm sorry, how to add value to satellite images. So maybe you, given your experience in gathering new developments and applications for those data, can help us see how to fill the technological gap and how to make this technology reach such a status in which it is fully understood and widespread, because profitable.
Okay, thank you for that question. Indeed, ESA is, as a space agency, not only building satellites and operating them like the Copernicus Sentinels. We actually really also work very closely together with user and research communities to address this gap, which you just raised, saying that basically from technology, there's a long way up to a real application, and even another jump up to commercial viability. And we're trying to address that. And I'm really happy to hear from my earlier speakers, my colleagues from FAO, that they're actually taking one of our applications, they sent to Agri-Toolbox now to their user communities and operate them on the national scale level in different countries. So that's exactly what we like to do, working together with users and understanding their requirements, which are not necessarily technological or directly related to space, but wanting to know about information, making decisions, and we need to make this translation from pixels, from digital numbers, all the way up to statistics, and that is something where we're trying to help. And I would like to give you two examples. One is working together actually with DG Agri, and in close collaboration with JRC, we have developed an open source tool to prepare for the CAP monitoring, which was being already mentioned several times, but we are not like JRC or the AGEA paying agency responsible or having the mandate to do the operations. We were focusing on the research and development efforts to develop new algorithms to make sure that we can go from a satellite image, which is coming from Sentinel-2 or Sentinel-1, really exploit the time series to come up to a dynamic crop map, which can then address crop diversification at the farm level, or catch crops monitoring, or grassland mowing activities. That is actually has been developed by e-GEOS, which was part of this consortium of the Senfoca project. So these tools then have been co-designed and demonstrated in 7 pilot countries. One was Italy, and it's being tested here, even 2020. And the responsible paying agency is giving us direct feedback if this information's layer generated from the satellites makes sense or not. That has been done with 7 of these paying agencies, but now there are up to 20 paying agencies which are testing it. But that is the public sector only. We also work with entrepreneurs and companies to develop their business ideas. So there are business incubation and application programs where we are running 20 business incubating centers in Europe, addressing the needs and understanding from small startups. We having a kind of startup funding and understanding how they can work together with the technology, and there has been more than 1,000 startups supported so far. And I give you here also an example. e-GEOS, for example, has been also supported by the application incubation and demonstration program, and they started called a premier platform, which addresses agricultural risk management in the context of insurance markets, kind of extreme weather impacts on the crops, like hail, for example. And finally, I would like to give you an outlook to the future of Copernicus. We have mentioned now several times the Sentinels, which are already up and running, and they really have been making a huge difference in the operational monitoring, going from single maps to real-time series, real continuous monitoring of agriculture. And nevertheless, there have been new user requirements collected by the European Commission, and ESA started last year 6 new Copernicus candidate missions, 3 of them of high relevance to agriculture. And there's the CHIME mission with a hyperspectral sensor giving more information about what the crop status is, more the chlorophyll content and the biodiversity monitoring. ROSE-L gives with L-band SAR observation more information about soil moisture. And finally, the LSTM mission is providing field-scale land surface temperature, allowing to improve irrigation management, and with that addressing water scarcity issues, which was also mentioned in the beginning, caused by climate change, increasingly also in Europe. So I think with that, there is a huge opportunity to increase the digitalization of agriculture with all the information. And Alan was very eloquent about that, how much data and what data means. It's our blood, absolutely. And we really need to make that work and make this transferred into information. And for that, we really like to work together with farmers and public institutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kurtz. Huge opportunity is the key word here, I believe. So let's move to the following panelist. Is Monsieur Damien Lepoutre. He's a consultant, former VP AgTech and Land O'Lakes, and founder of GeoSys. Welcome, Monsieur Lepoutre, to our roundtable.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi, Deborah.
So, hi. You're an agronomist, so I find myself on more familiar ground that of agronomy. I would like to talk with you about the many applications of data gathered not only through satellite images, but also through other sensors, as you're a consultant for farms. How can these technologies work for agriculture and for precision farming to make it more competitive and more sustainable, both from the environmental and economical point of view? And how can technology tell farmers something that they don't already know?
Yeah, thank you. Well, that's interesting. Sometimes for remote sensing, we try to see things that the farmers already know, so that's not very useful. Still for the government, that's something that may be very important. But yes, to have an impact, we need things to be put on the hand of the many. And everybody knows that in economics, but it's most important for farmers. And for farmers, remote sensing can bring information in many different ways. But the key is, well, we shouldn't dream too much about it, because when we see figures, well, with remote sensing, we can improve this in farming and increase the yield by 50% or things like that. Well, that's not, what is remote sensing is part of a lot of technologies that can help improve, lower the footprint and improve the profitability. So the key is how to bring things to the farmer. And everybody's trying to do this in remote sensing. We've talked about it for, well, I started in 1980 at USDA and NASA. So bringing information to the farmer, well, it needs to be part of the workflow of many other things. The farmer has a decision to make. Is not waiting for remote sensing. Remote sensing is in competition with many other technologies to improve his life. And improving his life is about financial results. We can't try to have an impact on environment if the farmer doesn't act at the end. It's nice to have government programs, but at the end, it's the farmer who acts on the environment. So we need to be able to help him be sustainable and make sustainable things. So it's financial results and lower the economic impact. And to do this, I don't think we can dream about going direct to the farmer, because the value per acre that we bring is just a small part of many things. It's like when we speak about value added in remote sensing, I don't like it too much. It's like if you speak about the car being a value added around the cigarette lighter. Well, no, remote sensing is a very small part, and there are many other things. Genetics is way more important than remote sensing to improve the livelihood of the farmers. So I think we need to be able to stick and to be part of the existing workflows, the existing relations to the farmers. We won't pay for the last mile or the last kilometer access to the farmer or the toll to the farmer just with information. Information can't pay for going and sitting down with the farmer for 1 hour to try to sell him something in remote sensing. So it needs to be part of other businesses. So if you can bring a comprehensive approach to the farmer through salespeople, who are the people that anyway are working with them in co-ops and distributors, they have to make sure that the farmer is going to buy the right genetics, applying the right chemical, putting the right fertilizer, the irrigation, etc. We need to help these people. That means make their life more simple. If it's a very complex system, nobody's going to use it. Make the life simple for the farmer, for them, and be part of the overall. So you were speaking about other data. If you don't have field data, if you don't have trial fields, if you don't have research data, if you don't have results, some statistically sound results on what you're going to advise the farmer, it's useless. So it needs to be embedded with all the existing tools. And that's what, in a cooperative like Land O'Lakes, that's what they've done. The remote sensing was a small part. It was a key part because it helps talk with the farmer while looking at his fields, but with all the remaining information on genetics, etc., which was way more expensive than remote sensing. So what is the part of remote sensing in this? It may be small, it may be big. We don't care. It must be part of an overall system. So, and being put in the hands of those who are in contact with the farmers already, we're not going to add costs with new people trying to sell stuff to the farmer. That's not viable today. The farmers already have a hard time to live. And the price of commodities, is not very high. So we need to fit to existing systems. And for this, we need to understand it needs to be a pull approach from the farmer, from the overall system, more than a push trying to provide things in addition.
Very smart approach. So precision farming as a broad concept. We have a very few minutes. I have to move to our last guest, Mr. Michael Ehmann. Please join us. He's founder and CEO of Natais Popcorn. Welcome.
Hello, thank you for the opportunity to participate in this meeting. So I would like to talk to you about practical, very concrete using of technology in farming. So I will show you this video quickly to explain you who we are. So we are located in the southwest of France. We are producing popcorn maize with 280 farmers are producing for us. So we are processing this popcorn and selling this popcorn all over Europe. So we are leader in Europe, and we do about 40,000 metric tons of popcorn. So sustainable farming is very important for us. It's part of our strategy, and technology and precisioning farming is very important for us. So the picture you see here, we are planting corn into cover crops. So we are working on a carbon balance together with INRA in France. We are using satellite pictures for this kind of application. We are using also satellite pictures for irrigation monitoring. And we are very excited about using more technology, and it's more and more part of our daily life. So we also developed an application together with Geospatial in France, or it's more Geospatial in France who developed an application for us. It is to use drone technology to inspect field inspection. We have a problem with a toxic weed, the name is Datura here in France, and this toxic weed is contaminating our popcorn. And so Geospatial developed a recognition system by drones, and then we overfly all the fields before physical inspection. Before harvest, and with this drone system, we are able to have a localization of the Datura plants, and the farmer is able to go in the field with the application on his smartphone to take out the toxic plants. So this is, I think, a nice example for technology in farming, how this can become very practical and usable for farmers. Here you see popcorn tests of popping volume, our microwave packaging plant. So you see that we are really orientated in technology, not only in farming, but also in our processing plant. And really we are completely dedicated for regenerating farming, and precisioning farming is really a huge opportunity for us to follow up our farmers, helping them to take the right decisions and really create and put in place sustainable farming practices for the farming of tomorrow. So thank you very much for this opportunity to give you a presentation and a concrete application of technology in our business.
Thank you. Very, very interesting, and congratulations. Really, you're the first popcorn producer in Europe. Now we have to close, but I would like to take just one question from the audience. So I would ask Mr. Paolo Minciacchi to answer this question, because it is, does e-GEOS have a facility whereby third-party players can contribute and profit in provided algorithms and models that are effective in agricultural production? And if it is present, how to sign up?
Yeah, for sure. I will answer. But before that, I would like to say a few words in conclusion of this panel, because at the end, what we see is that as a main introduction, technology is a fact, is there. There are a lot of investment, public investment and support in the upstream chain, so in the chain of having satellites, data, and so on. What I would suggest now that we have a table with also institutions is that we need to focus also on the downstream part, because the downstream part is the part that is near to the last mile, where the smallholder farmers can get the real results. And to do that, we should have a sort of cabinet of stakeholders, because the real problem in this kind of activity is the fragmentation. So there are a lot of initiatives, financing, innovation funds, but to have the possibility to build a real downstream services that goes directly to the smallholder farmers, supporting the investment of the smallholder farmers, so reducing the financial gap, I feel that at least at the European level should be one of the target where we should go. Answering to the question, we have launched a few weeks ago, I would say more or less at the end of the summer period, we launched a digital platform that is called GEOS, that gives the possibility with a cooperative approach to user. Mainly we are talking about B2B, but to also small companies, professional and so on, to access to all our suite of data and services, and also to build on this digital platform its own services, using the approach of, let's say, microservices in the digital way. So it's one of the things that e-GEOS has available in its portfolio. And I used to call it the platform of platforms, because using this digital market, then you can get more or less all the services that a company can provide, also for sure in the agricultural field.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Now we need to close this roundtable, and I have just a few closing remarks. I was glad to see the broad multidisciplinarity of our roundtable, because I believe complex solutions need complex approaches. We have listened to researchers, firms, institutions, consultants, and farmers, showing us the advantages of turning large amounts of data and satellite and sensors data into precious information for the operators. So if I can give you a takeaway message today, optimistic one, is that imagination is the limit, we can say. So I thank you all, and there's a second roundtable, and before that, a quick video for all of you. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Livio Rossi. I work in e-GEOS, and I'm an expert on remote sensing application, and especially for agriculture sector. Come back.
Livio, you're on mute.
Livio, we can't hear you.
Now it's better. Now can you hear me?
Thank you very much.
Sorry. So, okay, Livio Rossi speaking from e-GEOS. I'm an expert on remote sensing applications, especially in agriculture sector. As you, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you, sir. So more or less, we have in this session 6 speakers covering more or less a different application of geo-information and remote sensing data. The first speaker is me, and I will start more or less give you some message versus the Geospatial and GEOS experience in towards the common agricultural policy along the last years. Okay, we have no to add anything because they very well explained what is the purpose and the situation by the Alan Berward and Francesco Sofia before. But our experiences, especially for covering the technological improvement in remote sensing and GIS. Next slide, please. Both airborne and satellite data have been covered during the last 30 years. And concerning the numbers, like Alan Belward mentioned before, Italy has more or less 10% of the 27 countries concerning numbers of farmers, numbers of parcels, and work to be done. The main achievement reached in the last years, for instance, in 2006, AGEA, through the e-GEOS, reached to be the first member state to cover 100% of the remote sensing data for controls in agriculture. And as mentioned by AGEA before, in 2018, we found the first activity of check by monitoring using Copernicus data in a continuous way through, obviously, our agri-geo platform. Next slide, please. Just as an example of how works the control, the check by monitoring, that is a methodology created by our colleague Fabio Volpi, his team. And you can see 3 different zones. One is the satellite, one the administrative and back office, and the results is for paying directly the farmer. Just some numbers. In 2020, we use more than 5,300 images, and also for 300,000 farmers. In 2021, we will improve these numbers to reach more or less 10% of the parcel mentioned by Alan Belwer before. So that is an operational project because it's flexible. We take into consideration the scientific support, the requirement from the institution, but it's flexible because obviously it can change for any kind of part of the territory due to latitude, altitude, morphology, climate, and practical, local practical conditions. Next slide, please. Yeah, that is mentioned already by Francesco and Alan before. That is our application on mobile, also from Fiammetta. Its scope is to reduce the burden of the controls and the surveyor, because in this way, using this app, any farmer can send, protect, and guarantee in-field photos that can guarantee which kind of crop, what is the status, and also which are the activity performed on the field, which in a way assure, yeah. And the time and data of online is completely works out also online, offline, and is available for Italy because AGEA acquired this system for it's open for Italian customers. Next slide, please. So where are you going in for the CAP? More or less, this is a synthesis, because the main target of CAP were they avoid the urban crowd in the past, and that is a target reach. They produce strategic own food production in Europe and other target reach. But for the environmental safeguard and for climate change, we got really the partial goal. How can reach this goal? More or less, we can summarize the previous speech, because we have to reach with the new common agricultural policy to get an improvement on precision and organic farming expansion, and more CO2 absorption, and also not only maintaining but retrieve some, improve the biodiversity. What do we need? We need what they are doing. So the farming from space community is what you need. So to improve the possible interaction and collaboration between public, scientific, industry. Next slide, please. So what is the next scenario? The next scenario is to when the common agricultural policy and through this platform covering the eutrophication agro-monitoring by CAP, we can really find more benefit cost EU agro service to provide the service also what is our missing, so medium, small farmers, insurance, and local professionals. And also at marginal cost, we can also the agriculture component can really share with the marginal cost other information, like that this figure can show. So for clear cuts, for forest fires, for reduction CO2 absorption, water provision, and so on. So in synthesis, we have to deny altogether an oxymoron. So safeguard the both the vital, healthy agronomic business, and at the same time, our living environment. Next slide, please. Just to find out information by the Italian Space Agency that, as you know, it's very proactive in launch of satellites. Just to the 4 satellite system, common schematic radar, are the dual system and the synthetic aperture radar of the 2nd generation is already launched last year, and we completed this this year. For the agricultural sector, it's very important for the target of tropical zone and the monsoon or cloud cover doesn't need any optical acquisition. Next slide. The Prisma, the Italian hyperspectral mission is operational, and is the only operational hyperspectral mission currently. Is 240 bands for 30 meter pixel. Obviously, this kind of data can be operational in monitoring, but very, very important, we are talking about within our community, for creating non-dynamic mapping of soil and land use characteristics. Because as you see, despite the capability of the analysis and crop detection, we have also a lot of information of the soil and paleo river and different composition of soil. So as a static imagery, very, very useful, and we are happy to share a new proposal for created using this data too. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Now we are going to give the floor to the colleagues. The first is replacing of Francesco Pugliese. We can introduce Donato Zillis. That is an agronomist who works in Bonifica Ferraresi. He's a PhD at University of Padua in Michigan, specialized in precision agriculture and soil tillage system. The title is Precision Farming as a Vertical Application. Thank you, Donato.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. First of all, I bring greetings from BF Holding Research and Development Head Mr. Francesco Pugliese. Nowadays, Earth observation offers to agricultural sector a lot of solution in terms of sensor and spatial and temporal resolution, enable to perform a lot of analysis ranging from crop type detection or crop status during the season. And most of these solutions are used by BF Servizi, which is a company that provides for services in agricultural sector using a precision agriculture approach. BF Servizi is composed by three main pillars. Those are agronomic knowledge got by Bonifica Ferraresi and supported by a public committee, the technology, and two of most representative partners are e-GEOS and A2A Smart City that provide for digital infrastructure and proximal and remote sensing data. A scientific pillar promote more affordable and liable solution to agricultural sector. But the starting point is to merge, to integrate Earth observation data and in situ observation data in an agronomic-based model that through a web application offer high standard level solution at regional scale level and farm scale level in order to manage cropping system. But let's focus the attention on some of the activity. The first one is to monitor the crop cycle using vegetation indices deriving from satellite image and thanks to the geographical information of the field boundaries. The analysis of the vegetation index and the land cover during the season according to the different spectral film of the crops, we are able to detect the different species growing, crops growing over the field. At the same time, we can monitor field those are involved in specific tillage system program as well. But an additional activity that we perform with using satellite image is the study of spatial of the field variability. In fact, thanks to a multi-year analysis, vegetation index analysis, we define different pattern over the field that allow us to define the vegetative potential of this area and to define a selective program of soil sampling activity enabled to detect soil feature over the field. The result of this analysis is the building to define a management unit zone of the whole field of the farm, and this is the starting point to define a site-specific management system approach. That it begins from the integration of all the information layer inserted in within the different management unit zone, and integrated with historical weather data, forecast weather data. The agronomic-based model allow us to define the best, the optimal seeding rate and fertilization plan. Regarding fertilization plan, during the season, collecting satellite image, we are able to predict, to estimate biophysical parameters that allow us to better to optimize site-specific fertilizer application, thanks to the creation of prescription maps that are then carried out over the field. At the same level, irrigation is one of the most important managing operation of the cropping system. In this regard, some satellite image indices are useful to optimize coefficient inserted in the algorithm to define water balance, and at the same time using specific vegetation indices, we detect the most representative area within the field where we install soil moisture sensor in order to optimize the irrigation as well. To this end, even when we work with the specific crops and our customer have a specific requirement, we use Earth observation to define the most representative area where we install, for example, high resolution camera, or we can plan a high resolution level data acquisition by drone. To this end, our challenges are to better understand the customer's requirement, to integrate different technology, for example, remote and proximal sensing, to insert them in a research and development program, enabled to define a more reliable and affordable product to gain the objective of the agricultural sector.
Thank you, Donato. Now we can pass to Cecilia Sciarretta, that is head of technology and product policy in e-GEOS. She generally follows and organizes all the research project and initiative of the company. The title is the Precision Sustainable Agriculture in the Research Framework Project and Outcomes. Thank you, Cecilia.
Thank you, Livio, for the introduction. Okay, this is the title of my presentation. Next slide, please. For what concerns the e-GEOS product policy strategy, it does leverage also on the R&D process. That means that products, technologies, and hence also technological products are developed and validated through several internal funded initiatives, and also through the participation to several national and international co-funding research program selected to sustain those developments. Obviously, the importance of R&D projects, so the co-funded ones, is related mainly to the possibility of assessing and testing what is produced in the development towards versus the requirements and needs of real end users, and also to interact positively with other technology providers. e-GEOS exploited most of the international opportunity which are available to fund developments, so in particular H2020 opportunities. And now we expect to pass to the new program Horizon Europe, and also several opportunities from the ESA co-funded programs, in particular ARTES IAP, but also the updated one, so the Business Application Space Solution Program. It has to be underlined that the ESA opportunities gives to a company the possibility to set up a proper consortium and also to proper involve end user within a project, keeping in mind the pre-commercial aim of all the development. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, thank you. Agri-Geo, as we have said, is the vertical platform for agriculture which has been developed by e-GEOS. It benefited from a lot of participation in co-funded R&D projects. You see here the list. I included in the list also the ESA Sem4Cap. ESA Sem4Cap is not a co-funded project. It is a fully funded project coming from a competitive tender set up by ESA in 2017. e-GEOS is glad to be part of the winning consortium, which is led by Université Catholique de Leuven. We have to underline that Sem4Cap is in some sense a pillar for the development of refined products using Earth observation data and products in support of CAP implementation. As we know, CAP implementation is very related to the specificity of each country. So it is obvious that further development are needed to take into account specificity as country orography, LPIS peculiarity, reference parcel differences, and parcel size and shape, and so on. But this kind of project is really a starting point and a benchmark for all the development that have been also currently been doing also in other kind of R&D projects. We have also to underline that the stringent need from CAP implementation to use Earth observation products passing from the control to the monitoring, so exploiting fully the Copernicus Earth observation data and products, has paved the way to use this kind of products and to exploit other development also in other subdomains of agriculture domain. We will see next at the end of the webinar the presentation of a success story, which is Premia, which is a platform realized in a co-funded project by ESA, based on the exploitation of Earth observation products, and that it is related to agro-insurance. Next slide, please. Okay, so what is the situation now for technology developments and research in general in the field of agriculture? We have new drivers. The new drivers, at least for Europe, has been set up in 2020 with the European Green Deal, which influenced the request for the new CAP, and also gave the guidelines for what is called the farm to fork strategy. Next slide, please. Farm to fork gives a lot of guidelines for research, mainly for the agri-food chain, and so there are a lot of prescription and ideas and direction for what is related to food, so biology, let's say. But it gives also some hints and some guidelines also for the new challenges for Earth observation content, and also for the technologies that have to support this kind of development. Next slide, please. Okay, so just in a nutshell, we have a lot of challenges that we can define as application challenges that are related to the optimal management of resources, in particular of water resources, about the management of fertilizer and pesticides, about the monitoring of impact of extreme weather on agricultural activity, and hence the yield prediction, for example. And a lot of technology, a lot of assets that can support this kind of new application and these challenges. First of all, a lot of IoT in-situ sensor, a lot of new sensors even in the Earth observation satellite missions that we are waiting for and that are also present. The possibility to use air-pass sensors that helps in the monitoring of crops and not only. The availability of Meteo and also other connectivity as 5G. And the necessity of developing processing capabilities to better use this in an optimal way this data. Next slide, please. So this is our current, let's say, participation in R&D initiatives, implementing technologies to support new drivers application, let's say. So for example, about the problem of drought or on the contrary of water excess, specific technologies derived from the SAR data exploitation to measure soil moisture content using the multi-band capability of available constellations. So L-band together with C-band and X-band from the different SAOCOM, Sentinel-1 and Cosmos Skymet. Or for other application about pesticides and nutrient excess, in which we propose a specific technology solution within a specific application to the last call of the H2020 Green Deal in the farm to fork topic. Next slide, please. So just 4 or 5 technological development that we are preparing that are in the oven, in the pan. The first one is already consolidated, and is the combined use of SAR and multispectral data from Earth observation satellite. We started this kind of activity within Sem4CAP, for example, for the grassland mowing. We are consolidating this kind of technologies, and it is, let's say, a must. Next slide, please. The needs of fully exploiting the potential of the SAR technologies. So the possibility to use in a coherent technological way the possibility offered by the L-band mission as a SAOCOM, the X-band as Cosmos Skymet, and the C-band mission as Sentinel-1, just to separate different effects, for example, soil moisture from soil roughness. And this is a must, and we are working on it, and we included this kind of technological development in several projects that are now starting. Next slide, please. The need to exploit artificial intelligence technologies, in particular for any kind of anomaly detection that can be, as in this case, for example, the automatic identification of not compliant parcels in farmer declaration in support to CAP, but not only. So all the methodologies that are related to data-driven and model-driven approach within artificial intelligence technologies, deep learning, machine learning, and so on. We are preparing that. Our technical teams are working on that. And we hope to include this kind of development within the next products and the next R&D projects. Next slide, please. I think the final one. So the exploitation of new sensor possibility as offered by Prisma, for example, the hyperspectral one, while we are waiting for the operational Copernicus Sentinel with the hyperspectral sensor. We are, however, developing technologies and products not only for the agriculture domain, but in general for the optimal use of the hyperspectral indexes that can be derived from, in a complex way, from this data. I have no slide about it, but it is important what is possible to do by managing and handling and processing data from AirPass sensors. We are working a lot as a group, as Telespazio Group, about that, on the data acquisition and also on the setup of specific processing to derive optimal Earth observation products. I think that's all. I thank you.
Thank you, Cecilia. Thank you. So we have a common presentation divided in two speakers. The presentation is called Geo-Advantage and T-Drone Solutions, Drone Support to Agricultural Needs. The first speaker is Jean-François Gouillet, an expert remote sensing and geo-information. I work in Spot Image and Astrium. Currently is the Vice President of Sales of Telespazio France, due to his expertise in marketing and business development. So please, Jean-François, 8 minutes. You are mute. You are mute.
Sorry. Thanks, Livio, and good afternoon to everyone. Vishali, Tarun, thanks a lot. So after showing the complete and very extensive roadmap on R&D from the group presented by Cecilia, I am very proud to present you an operational service which is called Geo-Advantage and which helps you to locate and master Datura in your crop. Datura is the French name or the common name. It's more known by most of you maybe as Jimson weed. Next. So Datura has a worldwide presence, and it's very important to tackle Datura within your crops because it's a very toxic weed. Even it can be lethal if you ingest some too much, and it has a strong impact on agriculture. It is bringing a lot of batch recalls or people who get poisoned all over the world. Here you have some example of what are the internet and press extracts. So you have some in Hungary and in Germany, in France, of course, South America, Italy. So it's really a worldwide presence that has to be fought. Next. Next, thank you. There is a strict EU regulation which is coming and which is supposed to be implemented by 2022 with a transition period in 2021, and which will it's giving thresholds for the alkaloids, which are the chemicals resulting from the presence of datura within harvested crops, and the thresholds which will be triggered by the EU are very strict to a point that, just as an example, in 2017, over southwest part of France, 29% of the grain corn that was collected and harvested was above the existing threshold. So it's going to be very challenging for all the agricultural business to abide by these rules, and so the operational service GeoAdvantis there will be very helpful and very useful for them. Not only EU is looking at that, but also the World Food Programme and the FAO are actually in open discussion for global worldwide standards. So next, please. GeoAdvantis is a Telespazio group solution. It has been developed since 2016 and is now a really proven solution. It has been also developed in partnership with Natais and Michael Eman. In the first set of the roundtables was speaking about it because we are monitoring with them all of their surfaces for the past years. It started with some tests and over sweet corn and green bean, and then it was in the years 2018 and 2019, it was declared fully operational for corn and green bean. 2020, last year, was saw the development and the expansion of the services to other types of crops, buckwheat, quinoa, sunflower, etc., etc., and also other types of services, which are not only something that will be used for pre-harvesting detection of the datura, but also early detection stage as to use correct amount and very located and precise pesticides within the crops, helping the agriculture to stay clean and green. And the roadmap till 2021 and 2025 is a global Telespazio group deployment all over the world of this solution, which is, as I recall, very operational, using mainly an application which is for drone management called T-Drones, and agri-GEO, which is the agriculture platform from the group. T-Drones will be presented just after my presentation by Federica. And the best illustration of what GeoAdvantis is to show you a very brief movie. So if you can please display it just now. There is no sound. I hear nothing, at least. Okay, so if there is no sound, I'll comment. That was Jimson weed within some cornfields from Natais, and with a farmer coming with a technician from Natais. But as you can see, within a cornfield, it's very difficult to find and locate datura inside that. So Natais, it's stopping. Okay, looks like we have a small technical problem. No, there we go. Natais has used our solution for the past 2 years in order to identify, geolocate with an accuracy of few centimeters each and every datura plant within their crops, as for the farmer to go there and remove it. It is something which is developed by Telespazio, and we have a full team which is dedicated to the quality checking and the operations of this service. What is displayed here is the mobile application that is provided to each farmer after our drone flights, and each and every yellow spot that was shown in the illustration on the mobile app is corresponding to a Datura plant. And using the mobile app and the sat nav, the GPS, which is included in on the mobile of the farmer, he can directly go to each and every Datura plant which has been identified using artificial intelligence techniques and specific algorithms that have been developed in-house. So as you can see, in such, they locate themselves with their smartphones. They go within these big fields of corn and directly go to a Jimson weed or Datura plant which is there, as to remove it before harvesting, and thus remain within the thresholds which have been implemented or are to be implemented by the EU regulation on alkaloids and alkaloids. Okay, you can skip the movie if you want. Vishali, Tarun, you can skip it. Okay,
thank you, Jean-François.
It's not finished. It's not finished.
It's not finished. Oh,
no,
sorry.
I'm going to be very brief. Sorry, Livio.
Okay, thank you.
Just a very brief description of a Geo Advantage. It's a very easy process. There is step one, which is a drone flight over the crop, taking very high quality images. Second, next. It is then processed, as said, using our specific AI algorithms, which have been developed in-house. Each and every box there, red box, correspond to a Datura plant within the cornfield. Second, next, sorry. And last, provided via maps on smartphones, you have in the field the presence of the Datura, which is located in yellow here, and using the sat nav of your mobile, just walking in the field, you go directly and save time as to go and remove the Datura from the field. Next. If you want to try it, because I'm sure that after hearing this, you will want to try it. So we have developed a new customer package, a test pack, which correspond to one single flight, 50 hectares maximum coverage. We'll process it, issue and release some detection maps, provide them with a digital service on your smartphone. That is available for one user. Next, and the price for that is very cheap. It's 4,000 euros only. Of course, we do that on larger surfaces, several tens of thousands of 10,000s of hectares, and there are volume discounts for that, ranging from 68 to 52 euros. That's all for me.
Thank you, Jean-François. Thank you also for this last advertisement. Very, very clear. Now to close this technical line, there is Federica Mastracci. Federica works in the geo-information line of business of Telespazio as a manager, and she's currently the head of remotely piloted aircraft system solution unit. Thank you, Federica.
Thank you, Livio. Thank you, Jeff. Good afternoon to everybody. Can you hear me? Yes, everything is okay. So please, Vasey, if you go with my presentation. So I will present today how Telespazio Group innovative solution T-drones can be applied to agricultural application domain in order to exploit drone technology in smart farming, as we can see, we saw also from Jeff's presentation. Next, please. The need that we have identified related to a fully effective and efficient use of drones in agriculture, as well as in other domains, and to scale up the business in an industrial really volume, the needs that we identified are these ones. So to scale up geographical footprint of drone-related business cases in order to allow drone technology to be applied to wide scenarios of applications, such as the one that we saw before, to industrialize and standardize the generation of the info products in order to make the drone products more similar to the satellite ones and to be used also for long-time serious analysis, and to enable an efficient interaction between the end user and the drone mission during the mission in order to optimize the mission, especially in complex scenarios. Next, please. To do this, given these needs, T-Drone's business model is based on the federation of several drone operators distributed on the overall territory where the area of interest are located, and on the provision of all the necessary tools to go through all the workflow end-to-end, from mission design to mission planning and to execution, up to data processing and info product access. T-Drones is powered by proprietary solutions of Telespazio Group, including, of course, e-GEOS application platforms, and in particular, we use in T-Drones for agriculture domain, agri-geo, GeoAdvantis as one of the vertical applications, and CLEOS as the machine for data analytics and for the marketplace. T-Drones, however, in particular in the mission manager component, that is the engine for the real-time part of the use of T-Drones, also includes solutions related to connectivity, tracking, GNSS positioning services, planning capabilities, and a workflow manager. Next, T-Drones is used by all the users involved in the value chain. So the end users, in this case the farmer, and we will see how, and we also saw by Jeff's video, by the drone operator that can interact through T-Drones with the mission planner and with the end user, and by the drone service provider that is Telespazio itself. Next slide, please. In 2021 campaign and in the following years, we are going to use T-Drone's capabilities to scale up GeoAdvantis solution, not only in France, but also exploiting that and exporting it in other countries, as well as deploying other verticals in the application related to smart farming. Next. For example, the maps reports a simulated, totally created by us, so nothing is commercially relevant in the map, but is a simulated scenario of acquisition request in Italy to make an example of what could be managed by T-Drones. For example, in France, for this year, we already have the real map, an actual map that is related to our actual work plan of this year, and that needs T-Drone's capability to scale up. And of course, we cannot show the real map for confidentiality reasons. Next. In this type of scenarios, T-Drone satisfies the customer request and performs all the necessary steps of the workflow, both those services that are not visible to the end customer, to the farmers, such as the federation of the suitable drone operators, or the reporting activities that is necessary for aeronautical authorization. But of course, T-Drones also provide services that replies to the customer needs, such as, for example, the provision of the exact positioning of the datura plants. Next slide. Indeed, T-Drones is able to manage both the offline pre and post phases of the work and the online operational phase during the mission, so during the acquisition of the data. Next. In the first step, after the collection of a service request from the farmer or the cooperative, Telespazio performs the feasibility analysis, the operational engagement, the mission scheduling, and the overall request evaluation, risk evaluation for the authorization process, and also to evaluate the cost benefit of the overall mission. After the raw mission execution, the end user can access to the information product generated, to data analytics dashboard, and the offline reporting and data exploitation, thanks to agri-geo platform. Next, please. And this is really the core of T-Drones. During the operational mission phase, T-Drones guarantees an efficient interaction between all the service actors. We know that a mission campaign of, for example, datura detection on several plots distributed in a wide area of interest can last weeks or months. and it is necessary to keep synchronized the flight of the drones with the farmer activities and the meteo conditions, and to keep under control the overall daily mission of the flight on each plot. And we know also that to support the mission phase with the right tools means to give the right information that is needed by the farmer while keeping the cost of the operations under control. For example, T-Drones allows the farmer to exchange information with the drones pilot through the mobile app in order to share the information of on the actual status of the sowing or of the growing of the plant, and to tune the right flight time and day in a continuous update of the overall planning. It also allows to share data related to the drone status in terms of the sensor parameter, the tracking of the route, and allows also the conformance monitoring between the planned flight and the actual one. Thanks to these tools, it is possible to understand immediately if it is necessary to perform a new flight on that plot or if it is successfully closed. So in conclusion, T-Drones includes fleet management capabilities and a suite of end-user customized services in order to make the use of drones really applicable and scalable and actionable for agriculture sector, in particular for wide areas and complex missions. So this closes my presentation, and of course we are available to give more information on our solution after the webinar, and we are now in the the platform has been deployed and is operational, and it has a development plan during the year to give more and more functionalities to our customers. Thank you.
Thank you, Federica, to have shown this very important initiative for reaching more suitable the use of drone in agriculture. Thank you. The last stay with us presentation is coming from Fabio Volpe. Fabio Volpe has 30 years of experience in Earth observation data processing. He works with product development and innovation services in e-GEOS, and currently is the head of optical hyperspectral application. The title is Earth Observation for Insurance, Solution for Risk Evaluation and Management in Agriculture. Thank you, Fabio.
Thank you, Livio. Good afternoon, everybody. I provide an overview of the solution that can be provided to agri-geo for a specific category of user, that is the insurance. All the solutions are based on turning a big amount of images and data from different data sources into pieces of information that are put in the format that is usable and required by the end user, that is the insurer. The solution that agri-geo can provide for the insurance are related to two specific issues: the support for the risk assessment over a specific area when signing
full screen, Fabio, full screen, please. Full screen.
Yeah, it's not yet there, but it's going now. And so the support for the risk assessment of a specific area when signing a contract, and the support for damage estimation when receiving a claim from an end user. So the solution for agri-insurance have been defined and analyzed within a project called Premia, that has been mentioned before also by Benjamin Coates. That is co-financed by the European Space Agency, and in which e-GEOS has coordinated a group of partners, including technological providers, research institutes, and especially end users that you can see listed in this slide. The objective of the project was the provision of operational services based on the integration of Earth observation data with other relevant data sets that were linked each other to their geographic component. These services are focusing on risk management in agriculture and are provided through a dedicated service platform that is called Premia. For the solution dedicated to agri-insurance, as input, we have not only, let me say, satellite data, we have also other type of images coming from PAS, coming from meteorological data and aerial data and so on, but also we have other data sets that are not necessarily images. So, for example, are included as input data, I don't know, administrative borders, as well as parcels, borders of the parcel that are insured by the insurer. And in any case, data sets that are provided by the end user, mostly related to historical data sets, information that they have. As solution, we have basically, as I said, two main groups, one dedicated to risk assessment, one dedicated to damage assessment. For each of these big groups, we have specific tools that can support these two phases of the insurer work. Now let's see some example of the solutions. So the solution that can operate on single field, can operate on single farm or on a predefined area through the interface of Premia. Here are, for example, for historic analysis, the tools that are available and dedicated to assessing the risk through historical analysis. The information is provided in general by processing and integrate data sets coming from different types, provided the results in a format that is usable by the insurer. For example, here has been mapped on a geographical basis the information provided by the insurance and related to hail events on a specific area, in a specific year. It has been mapped, in this case, the ratio between the area that has been climbed for an hail event occurred and the total area that has been insured for hail. So we see that there are some critical areas considering this kind of event. Of course, from this kind of data set, it's possible to extract infographics, let me say, of different type. Here, for example, we have the damage statistics for soft wheat, specific crop, related only to hail. Here, for example, we have an analysis of the occurrence of adverse weather event, again, over a single municipality. But of course, it's possible also to perform spectral analysis and derive several kind of spectral index or biophysical parameters over the single plot over a larger area, as well as detect historical intrafield or interfield anomalies due to crop failure on a specific parcel or group of parcels. Let's now have a look to get in the risk, some example risk assessment. Let's see some example of damage assessment tools. We have seen before, we've been talking before about hail. There is statistics of climbs related to hail event. But the question is if the hail event has occurred or not. And this tool developed within Premia is aimed at identify the probability of the occurrence of an hail event of a specific area, a specific date. In this case, with a granularity of 1 kilometer. Of course, once identified the event, it's possible to intersect this kind of information with the information on the portfolio of the insurance, so identify which are the crops that have been affected in which percentage. Another example of the usage of Earth observation data for damage assessment. In this case, the evidence of event on an event of rain is for flooding is shown in this slide, and rather satellite data can provide evidence of the area. And again, by integrating with the other data set, it's possible to get information about which crop have been affected by the event, and also have additional information related to the trend, for example, of rain. We see clearly that in this area, this is the period where we are talking about here, there has been a great concentration of extreme rainy events, with also some impact on specific parcel on the spectral properties of the crop. For damage assessment, what is important is also to understand in which stage the crop is, in which growing stage the crop is, because the damage can be different depending on in which which is the growing stage of the crop. Here we have an example in Texas, where there has been in 2017 the Harvey hurricane that has hit several states of the US. In particular, in Texas, there are several plots of cotton, and radar data can provide evidence of the area that have been flooded following this hurricane at different dates, as we can see here. And while optical data can provide evidence of where cotton plots were, and it was also possible to derive which was the growing stage of the cotton at the age of the event. And so, by knowing which kind of damage can be given to the cultivation by a flood event, it's possible to evaluate which are the plants that really be damaged by the event. In this case, the agronomist says me that the most dangerous part of the growing stage is when there is the flowering, the white flowering of the cotton. So, and this is this portion here. So 25% of the production has been lost due to this event. In this specific country, we are analyzing data on a specific county in Texas. So quickly, some takeaway message from us, from this kind of application for insurance. Of course, all these applications have been developed in close interaction with the support of our technical and scientific partners. All these application solution integrate different type of data, and the goal is to turn data into information that can be used by the end user. All the solution can be fully customized depending on user needs, and also depending on the data that the user can put at our disposal. In general, we provide the processes done to our agri-geo platform, and it's possible to access to the results through the user job service. Actually, we support the damage assessment, the loss estimation, the management of the portfolio. What to say is that for insurance in particular, Earth observation, the integration with other Earth observation with other information, of course, introduce an objective instrument that can support the risk evaluation, loss verification, and can also facilitate the introduction of new insurance products that can also be provided in area never covered before by insurance. Leo, for me, that's all.
Thank you, Fabio. Thank you so much. Thank you to the speakers. I understand it's very difficult to think to be so synthetic. Basically, in this hour, we have covered several geo-information contents, starting from common policy, precision farming, scientific project, the drone contribution, up to the risk analysis and the insurance at the end. So we have more or less show some hints, demonstrate that a technological improvement, a common technological improvement is ongoing. Don't stop it, please. Because as I mentioned before in a slide, we have to make thinkable what was unthinkable last years ago. So to make growing our agribusiness, but at the same time provide and improve our environmental protection as two lines of the same path in parallel. So thank you so much to the speaker. Thank you so much for the attendees, for their patience. Sorry, we 8 minutes over. Sorry for this. And I think that no possible to raise hand for questions. We supposed already that. So we are happy to receive from you by email your question, but not only suggestion, up to collaboration proposal for improve our community and reach together our goals. So please, if you can show the email the perfect. Please remain with me. For your question to the communication, let the slide, please, in order to read and copy the email address. Thank you again, and see you soon, we hope. Bye.